They say the abandoned woods are silent, but Lila Hart heard whispers no one else could. And tonight, she would follow them, straight into the darkness. Lila Hart had always been drawn to the woods behind her town, even though everyone said it was dangerous. Overgrown, shadowy, and abandoned, the forest had claimed more than a few stories of disappearances. Yet Lila, 17, with a mind sharp and restless, could hear things others couldn't. Whispers. Faint at first, like the rustle of leaves in the wind, but unmistakably voices calling her name. Her best friend, Evan Cross, had tried to warn her. "Lila, it's just old stories. You're imagining things," he said, his brow furrowed as he adjusted his backpack. But Lila shook her head. "It's not stories, Evan. Something's in there. Something alive." The sun was just disappearing behind the horizon, casting the abandoned woods in deep purple shadows. The trees seemed to bend unnaturally, their gnarled branches clawing at the sky. Lila stepped forward, her flashlight barely piercing the darkness. Evan followed reluctantly, muttering complaints under his breath. As they went deeper, the whispers grew clearer, but still impossible to locate. "Lila," the voice hissed, soft but urgent. She froze, her heart pounding. Evan reached for her arm. "See, nothing. It's all in your head." But it wasn't. A shadow flickered between the trees, a movement too deliberate to be wind. Lila's curiosity overpowered her fear. She whispered back, almost instinctively, "Who's there?" The whispers responded instantly, flowing around her like a cold breeze, speaking words she didn't understand but somehow knew. The woods seemed alive, aware of her, almost expecting her. And then she saw it. A faint glow far ahead, shimmering between the trees, inviting yet terrifying. Evan grabbed her wrist. "Lila, this is insane! Let's go!" But Lila's eyes were fixed on the glow. Something deep inside told her she couldn't leave. Not yet. At that moment, a strange figure appeared, an old woman leaning on a twisted cane. Her eyes were sharp, too sharp, and they seemed to look through Lila. "You hear them, don't you?" the woman asked, her voice dry like fallen leaves. Lila nodded slowly. "Yes. But who are they?" The woman sighed. "Some are lost. Some are waiting. But be careful, child. The woods don't give up easily." And with that warning, the woman disappeared into the shadows, leaving the teens with only the whispers and the flickering glow that pulsed like a heartbeat deeper in the forest. Part 2. The forest thickened as Lila and Evan followed the glow. Every step seemed heavier, the air colder, filled with faint murmurs that swirled around them. The whispers weren't random anymore. They were directing her, pulling her toward something. Evan's skepticism waned with every step. "Lila, I don't like this," he said, shivering. "I think we should turn back." She ignored him, guided by the persistent calls. "Just a little further," she urged. Her heart beat with a mix of fear and exhilaration. "I have to know what they're trying to tell me." Suddenly, the whispers formed words. Her name, over and over, followed by a strange plea. Lila realized they were warning her of someone, or something. The glow ahead flickered again, revealing the ruins of an old cabin hidden under thick vines and moss. The air felt charged, alive with tension. Evan stepped back. "No way, we're not going in there." Inside the cabin, the whispers intensified. They twisted around Lila, speaking directly into her mind. And then she saw it, a journal lying on a decaying table. She picked it up, brushing off layers of dust. The pages were filled with notes from someone who had heard the whispers before. Warnings, directions, cryptic messages. One entry froze her blood. "Do not trust the glow. It does not lead to safety. Only those who listen carefully may survive." The whispers grew louder, almost frantic now. Lila could feel a presence in the room, unseen but unmistakably aware of them. The temperature dropped, and the shadows shifted unnaturally, stretching and twisting toward her. Evan grabbed her shoulder. "Lila, this isn't safe. I don't care what the journal says. We need to leave now." But Lila couldn't move. Something compelled her forward, deeper into the heart of the cabin. A door at the far end, previously unnoticed, now radiated the same eerie glow. It beckoned. The moment her hand touched the handle, the whispers stopped abruptly, replaced by a single chilling voice. "Finally, you've come." The air vibrated, and the ground beneath their feet trembled. Shadows coalesced into a figure, tall, cloaked in darkness, with eyes that gleamed like molten gold. Lila's pulse raced, but fear was tempered by a strange clarity. She had been called here for a reason. Evan stepped back, stumbling over the floorboards. "Lila! No! Whatever this is, it's not what you think." But Lila only nodded. She turned to face the figure, ready to answer its question. The cloaked figure didn't speak again. It simply moved closer, gliding over the cracked wooden floor as though the shadows themselves carried it. Lila felt no fear, only an odd sense of inevitability. The whispers had led her here, and somehow she understood that the answers she sought were within reach. Evan, however, was paralyzed with dread. "Lila, run!" he shouted, tugging at her arm, but she gently shook him off. "Evan, I have to do this. I can feel it. It wants me to listen." The figure stopped just a few feet away, and the golden eyes bore into Lila's soul. The air pulsed with a rhythm that felt almost like a heartbeat, and the whispers returned, but now they were clearer, speaking in fragmented sentences. "Trust, see, choose, survive, reveal." Lila's mind raced. She realized the glow, the whispers, the old journal. All of it was guiding her, not just testing her courage, but offering a choice. She stepped forward, toward the figure, feeling the warmth of the glow seeping into her skin despite the cold air. Suddenly, a gust of wind slammed the cabin door shut, throwing dust and debris into the air. The figure raised a hand, and shadows leapt from the walls, forming twisting shapes that tried to trap them. Evan screamed and backed into a corner. "Lila, this is insane! It's going to—" But Lila stopped him with a firm hand. The whispers surged, now like a chorus in her head, urging her to focus. She spoke aloud. "I hear you. I'm listening." The figure paused, as if surprised. Slowly, it extended a hand, pointing toward the far wall. The shadows receded, revealing a hidden alcove. Inside, a small, ancient box rested on a stone pedestal. The whispers whispered urgently, "Open. Only the one who listens may choose." Lila approached the box, heart pounding. She knew instinctively that opening it was the pivotal moment. Evan's voice shook behind her. "Lila! Think! We don't know what that is!" But the pull was irresistible. She lifted the lid. A soft light spilled out, and the whispers became clear voices, layered and harmonious. Freedom, secrets, understanding. Lila felt the knowledge of the forest flood her mind. The stories of those who had vanished, the truth about the abandoned woods, and the role she was now meant to play. The figure nodded once, approvingly, then began to dissolve into shadow. "You have heard, and now you must decide," it whispered, fading. Lila realized she had a choice: to leave the woods and never speak of what she had learned, or to stay, becoming the guardian of the whispers, tasked with guiding others who might wander too close. Evan stared at her, pale and trembling. "Lila, what did you do?" She closed the box, the glow dimming but not disappearing entirely. "I listened," she said simply, her eyes shining with understanding. "And now, I know." The cabin was quiet again, the shadows retreating into the corners, but the forest beyond seemed alive in a new way. Lila stepped outside, Evan following hesitantly. The whispers lingered, softer now, like a gentle breeze threading through the trees. "You You stayed? Evan asked, disbelief written across his face. You didn't run? Lila shook her head. Some things are bigger than fear, Evan. I heard them for a reason. I think I was meant to understand. The sun began to rise, casting a muted gold across the abandoned woods. For the first time, the forest felt less menacing, more like a living entity, breathing around them. Lila's connection to it pulsed gently, the whispers no longer frightening but familiar, almost comforting. Evan glanced around nervously. So, what now? Are you saying you're staying here? Listening to ghosts? Lila smiled faintly. Not ghosts. Voices, memories, warnings, and now, guidance. Someone has to watch over this place. Someone has to help others who hear the whispers. As they walked back toward the edge of the forest, the whispers faded to a soft hum, leaving a single echo. Thank you for hearing. Before leaving, Lila turned one last time, looking at the shadowed depths of the woods. She knew the forest would never fully let her go. It had chosen her, and she had accepted that choice. Evan shook his head, both in awe and disbelief. You're crazy, but somehow, I think you're the only one who could have done this. Lila laughed softly, a sound mingled with wonder and resolve. Maybe. But some things are bigger than us. We just have to listen. With that, they stepped out of the abandoned woods. Lila's heart carried the whispers still, a quiet song in her mind, a promise of the secrets she now understood. The forest stood behind them, silent but watchful, waiting for the next soul curious or brave enough to listen. And somewhere deep in the shadows, the voices whispered again, softer this time, like a lullaby for the chosen. You belong. You belong. The forest had found its guardian, and for Lila Hart, life and the whispers would never be the same again.